everybody, and welcome to Mesa's Candidate Forum, sponsored by the Mesa Republic and in conjunction with the City of Mesa. This is a really important election that really speaks to the city's future, so I'm really glad that you tuned in. I'm Joanna Allhands. I will be your moderator tonight. I'm the Digital Opinions Editor for the Arizona Republic. Let's just get right into introducing the candidates. We have John Giles and Danny Ray for mayor, Robert Clough and David Luna in District 5, which is Northeast Mesa, Trevor Hansen and Kevin Thompson, they're in District 6, which is Southeast Mesa. So let's just go over real quick tonight's format. Each candidate will have a minute for opening and closing remarks. We'll get right into questions after that. Tonight's selections come from Mesa Republic staff, our live audience, and people following us along on AZ Central and social media. If you have a question, tweet it using the hashtag AZVotes. So each candidate will have 60 seconds to respond, followed by a 30-second rebuttal or follow-up if we have extra questions. So let's get into it, all right? Mr. Giles, we'll begin with your opening statement.
Thank you very much. I'm John Giles, and I'm running for mayor of Mesa because I'm passionate about my hometown, and I want to do everything I can to continue to help Mesa to be a great place to live, work, play, and raise our kids. I think that Mesa is at a critical stage right now. We can go one of two directions. And I think it's critical that the City of Mesa government be very engaged, working very hard, and very smart. We need to not back down from the challenges that our city faces right now. I believe it's also critically important that we work especially hard to continue to bring high-paying new jobs to the City of Mesa. I hope you'll trust me with your vote. I hope that you'll work with me together so that we can take Mesa to the next level. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ray.
I'd like to thank everyone for coming tonight. My name is Danny Ray. I'm a husband and a father of 6. I'm a lifelong resident of Mesa and a Mesa business owner. I'm not a political insider, but a concerned citizen and father. In studying the budget, I came to realize that we have some serious financial issues here in Mesa. In the last 10 years, our debt has doubled, and our city taxes and fees have risen by 50%. As a member of the Citizens Design Review Board, I saw regulations used to create an unfair playing field for businesses to compete on. We can fix these issues. We can get Mesa on the right financial track, but we need to start by prioritizing all spending and fund essential services first. We must make cuts necessary to live within our means. We can also promote a vibrant economy by fostering a level playing field for all businesses. The key is for citizens to be informed. We are constantly being told that we need debt to prosper and that a healthy economy comes from the top down. Prosperity does not come from government, but it comes from the people.
Thank you, Mr. Clough. We're just going to go straight down the line, by the way. Oh, you guys, if you can hold your applause,
I haven't
that's
said
great.
anything yet. I will say this: I am not Alex Finter, even though I look like Alex Finter in that screen right there, the mayor. My name is Robert Clough. I'm running for City Council in District 5. I'm from Arizona. I'm a native. My wife's also a native. I've lived in District 5 for 15 years, in Mesa just over 25 years. I'm from the Gila Valley, and I'm running for office because I'm concerned about our politicians forgetting who they are supposed to be loyal to, and I think our politicians are forgetting that we, the citizens, should be represented by them and not special interest groups. And therefore, I've decided to, as a citizen, run and give people an opportunity to vote somebody that's not a politician, but a citizen that has your concerns as my concerns. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Luna.
Hi, my name is David Luna. I'm currently the incumbent for District 5. I've been an incumbent for almost a year now, and I've really enjoyed working on the City Council and working with my colleagues. And one of the things that I want to do is continue the legacy that Scott Smith has has left the council, as well as my current council. They left a great path for us to follow, building a better Mesa, and I want to continue on that path. We have some great economic development opportunities in our city. I represent District 5. District 5 has some great amenities, and I want to continue to make sure that they survive and that they continue to exist. I look forward working with our current council, but there are certainly challenges in our city, and I want to continue to work hard because I believe that I have the skill set necessary and essential to move this city forward. So I would ask that you consider me as District 5 representative. And I will say that the gentlemen here, they're all fine gentlemen, and I've enjoyed working with them during this election process. So, but in the meantime, please consider me as your City Council representative in District 5.
Thank you, Mr. Hanson.
My name is Trevor Hanson, and I am running for the Mesa City Council in District 6. I've lived in District 6 for almost 15 years now, and I've seen a lot of changes happen in the area. I have been involved with the schools in the area as well as families in coaching their kids in sports and participating in different scouting activities with them as new people have moved in, getting to know them and working through different challenges that the residents of District 6 face. And I decided to run to make sure that my friends and neighbors have a voice on the City Council, someone that will listen to them and recognizes the unique challenges that exist in District 6 with the growth and new jobs coming to that area. Thank you.
Mr. Thompson.
My name is Kevin Thompson. I'm running for Mesa City Council in District 6. I think our mayor and our council have done a fantastic job of moving our city forward. We've come a long way from where we were to where we're at today, and I think I have the skill set to continue moving us forward. I want to build off the momentum that our council has developed, continue moving us forward. I think Mesa has a very bright future. I want to take our Mesa, instead of making it a better Mesa, I want to make it the best Mesa. I think I have the skill set to do that. I'm fairly active and involved in the community. I've managed employees. I've worked with multi-million-dollar budgets and came in on budgets. I have the long-term, long-range planning skill set. So I have a multitude of skills that I've picked up over the years in my position that I think qualifies me to be the best candidate. So I ask for your support and hope that you vote for Kevin Thompson for Mesa City Council. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, let's get into audience questions. And we'll start with Mr. Ray this time and just head on down the row. What are your thoughts on Mesa being called a bedroom community?
I've heard that term quite often, and I'm not quite sure exactly what it means. To me, Mesa is a family community where people come to work and to live. I'm not sure what people mean by bedroom community. I think Mesa is a great place. I plan on raising my kids here. So I don't feel that we are needing to be something we're not. We are a family community where people come to live and work.
Mesa's been known for a bedroom community as long as I've been here. Back in the 80s when I was in construction, we live and die by construction in homes, in the housing market. And I think that's a concern that we should all have. It's great to have homes. We all need homes. But sometimes we focus so much on homes, we forget the small businesses and maybe the medium and large businesses that we can bring in. I feel that we can do better by being more of a boardroom community and attract more businesses, either small, medium, large. And we've seen another downturn, obviously, recently. And again, that was all about bedrooms. And we do need to focus more on boardrooms and bringing businesses in.
I think that we were known as a bedroom community in the past simply because people lived in this community and then went to Phoenix, Tempe, Scottsdale to work. We no longer want to be a bedroom community. We want to attract businesses to come here, industry to set up shop here, so that not only do people live here, they also work here. And that's one of the things that I'm going to continue to advocate, that we continue to encourage businesses, economic development, and those kind of things to come into our community, so we're no longer known as a bedroom community, but a community that not only provides homes, but provides job opportunities for our citizens.
I've lived in Mesa a long time and have always heard from friends and different people who have businesses in Mesa that some of their friends sort of mock them for having their business in Mesa and can't figure out why they would do business in Mesa. And I think those times are changing, and I think there's more that we can do to promote that we need to make sure that Mesa is a place that's easy to do business. We've seen great strides in certain areas as Apple and other companies have started to move here, and the city has made great efforts to make that process easy for them. But that process should be the baseline for all businesses in Mesa, that whether you're a small business or a medium-sized business, that the city works with you to remove roadblocks and find ways to make it easy to do business in Mesa.
You know, we are a bedroom community, and I don't think we're ever going to change that fact. But I think we can supplement our bedroom community with jobs. I think we can focus on the high-wage jobs, bringing the manufacturing in, especially along the Elliott Road corridor. Also bringing in more of our heavy industrial down around Germain Road, and supplement that as well with our retail. You know, there's a lot of people out there that want those restaurants, those high-end restaurants. All of that will follow the growth and development of your manufacturing. Your manufacturing will demand that you have that in place, and that's going to bring keep your property values up. That's going to steer us from just being just a bedroom community. So I think we can do a lot better, and we have a pretty bright future ahead. Thank you.
Mr. Jones?
It's very important to me that Mesa not be just a bedroom community. Mesa is a very large city. We're approaching 500,000 people. A city of 500,000 people that prides itself on being a bedroom community is a city with a problem. We need to have the ability to live, work, play, all within the boundaries of our community. It's critically important to me, and my emphasis as mayor will be directed at bringing more high-quality jobs, high-paying jobs to Mesa. If we are content with the status quo, if we're content to just be in the shadow of Phoenix, I'm afraid that's a recipe for Mesa becoming a city that we don't want to live in. So I've heard that. My mission in life is to correct that perception of Mesa.
Okay. Any rebuttals? All right. Let's get to the next question. This one says, I'm concerned about all the bond debt that Mesa has. I would like to know if you have a plan for paying off the debt, and if so, what's that plan? Mr. Clough, we'll start with you.
Well, I don't think it's up to me to plan that. The bonds have to be paid back through the citizens. I mean, that's all there is. I can't change that fact. The only thing we can change moving forward is to educate our citizens more about what these bonds are for, and what does it mean to pay it back, and what does it mean true cost to us. Is that X amount of dollars for X amount of years? We do have to do some of these bonds to put in the infrastructure to get the businesses that are seeking to relocate. They have to be in place. That's just part of being a city. But I think we can do better by letting the citizens know what this really means. It's not just about, hey, we're getting people in, but here's the long-term impact. Here's what it's going to cost. Here's what we have to watch for. So if we're just more open with what we're doing with the money, I think that'd be a great idea.
Ditto. I thought I'd throw that in because we talked about doing ditto.
That is the shortest answer ever.
No, I think it's
supposed to do ditto.
no. Yeah, Mr. Clough is exactly right. Maybe what we need to do as a community, bond is essential. Bonding is essential. Voters vote for bonds. That payment is paid back by the users, certainly the end users that use our utilities, and it's essential that maybe we need to do a better job of educating. We've had a real good record. We've had a good record of our community supporting our bonds. They realize in order for us to grow as a community, provide the necessary resources, that we have to do bonding. And municipalities are given the option of providing that kind of financial structure to allow us to provide provide infrastructure needs that we have in our community. So it's essential that maybe perhaps we need to do a better job. But we know for sure that our community has been quite supportive of bonds, and I'll leave it at that.
as has been said, the bonds that we currently have, the processes in place and to pay those back. But I believe moving forward that we need to look at innovative and new ideas for projects and not just do things the way we've done them because it's the way we've always done them. That we look at new ways and more cost-effective ways to build out that necessary infrastructure and ways to move through that process to reduce the cost to the residents of Mesa. And my background in my professional life is in helping businesses find those innovative ideas, and I believe that I can bring that to the council, looking for those new ways to structure those needs.
Mesa is probably one of a handful of cities in the U.S. that doesn't have a primary property tax, and because of that, we have to go out to bond. And luckily, our staff in Mesa and our council members in Mesa have really kept a pretty tight rein on those funds. They don't bond and go out to bond just to go out to bond just to get more money. There's always a project that's tied to it, and it's unfortunate that we don't have the primary property tax. We'll never get that passed in Mesa, but that's how we have to deal with our infrastructure needs. Also, because our HERF funds continue to get rated by the legislature, we have to go out and bond for streets, and those are dollars that we typically, it's our tax dollars, state shared revenue that typically should be coming back to the cities and towns to pay for our streets. Those dollars aren't coming back, and they're getting swept by the legislature, and that's why we end up bonding for streets.
Bonding is an important tool that cities use to build things, and it's important that if you operate utilities like the city of Mesa does in particular, that we have the ability to bond so that we can build the infrastructure that's necessary for our community to provide essential services to our residents. I have heard it said, especially recently in this campaign, that Mesa has overextended itself in the amount of bonds that it's issued. I think it's important to kind of compare Mesa to where we are in relation to some of the other communities. We are slightly less bonded than Gilbert and Chandler, but we are well below the remaining communities in Maricopa County. The agencies that regulate the appropriateness of bonds indicate that Mesa could double the amount of bonds that it has now and still be a good investment. I'm certainly not suggesting we do that, but I don't want us to be scared into thinking that Mesa is facing some sort of financial crisis related to the bonds. Also, I'd like to remind you that bonds are approved by the citizens of Mesa to address the important infrastructure needs that we have. So I've heard that criticism.
The bell.
Thank you.
Mr. Ray.
Although the bonds are approved by the citizens, like Mr. Clough said, we need to do a better job of letting people know what they're voting on. Some people have a misconception that bonds aren't debt. Bond debt is debt. And it's been said that we aren't overextended, but for me, $1.5 billion, getting on $1.5 billion, and then we have another bond coming up, that is overextending. That is not something that, as a father, I am comfortable passing on to my children. We need to prioritize our spending. We need to fund the necessary items first, and then we need to go from there. We shouldn't be waiting to the last minute to fund big problems. We shouldn't be bonding these big things. We need to take steps to prepare for these things. Gateway and Apple didn't just spring out of the ground. Eastmark didn't spring out of the ground. These are all things that we should have been planning for. We should have been trying to set necessary funds aside so that we can better tackle these issues.
Well, let's turn it over to Parker Levitt, our Southeast Valley development reporter. He's got some questions from Twitter, and also a reminder that if you are tweeting, use the hashtag AZVotes to get your questions in. Parker.
Thank you, Joanna. We do have a few questions, good questions coming in. With the bedroom community question, you started to talk about the issue of economic development, and that is what our first question from social media pertains to. The reader asks, what specific policies are you planning to implement to make the Mesa area a destination for employment and for people to live, play, and work here? Also, I'll add, the reader wants to remind you that Walmart is not a high-wage employer.
Could you repeat the question again?
Sure thing. What specific policies are you planning to implement to make the Mesa area a destination for employment and for people to live, play, and work here?
One of the things I can say is that recently the mayor Mayor Fincher established a visioning committee for Falcon Field area. Obviously in District 5, that's an important area in my community. And one of the things that we're looking at is looking at Falcon Field in terms of economic development, looking at zoning opportunities and perhaps rezoning and looking how we encourage businesses to come into that community. As you know, Falcon Field is an economic engine. It has MD Helicopter, has Boeing, but it also has a number of companies that work with the airport and provide the aircrafts and those kind of things, the gas, the tools that they need, the repair and those kind of things. So one of the things that we're trying to do is look at opportunities so that we can expand the Falcon Field area. So that's one of my priorities and one thing that I'm going to advocate for.
I believe the best way to go about this is by making Mesa a city that's easy to do business with, by removing roadblocks that stand in the way of businesses, that as we remove those roadblocks and those challenges that businesses face, and some of them are simple solutions. Currently in the city, for a developer to submit plans, it's all still paper-based and a very manual process to work through, and can drag a project out for months to get that through the city approval process. And so as we use innovative technology and solutions to simplify that process, it'll reduce the cost to the city as well as to the developer. And as we do those types of projects, we can better encourage businesses to come to Mesa.
And I agree with Trevor on that point. I think, if we make Mesa easier to do business in, we'll get that development here. One of the areas that I think we can really do better in is going out and selling ourselves to other cities around the country. East Valley Partnership did a study about a year or 2 years ago, and they were talking about rebranding the East Valley. And what they came up with is that we're going to be called, I think it was Phoenix East Valley or something of that nature. But the thing that really caught my attention was that when they started going out to these companies and asking them if they knew anything about Mesa or what they knew about the Phoenix metro area, Mesa was about 4th or 5th on their list behind Scottsdale, Tempe, and Chandler. And I think we can do a better job of going out and promoting ourselves and letting people know that Mesa's open for business. We have the land available. We have the educated workforce to put people to work. Come in, let's put people to work, build your companies here.
I think the secret to economic development is no secret. It's hard work. Mesa needs to work hard first. It's kind of a two-part process. First, we need to work hard at marketing ourselves. If I'm elected Mesa or mayor of Mesa, I plan on being gone from Mesa very frequently, out on recruiting trips, going to Chicago, going to Detroit, going to Los Angeles, going to wherever there is a company that has a substantial amount of jobs that I can woo and romance and tell the Mesa story to, and try to get them to come out and check us out and bring those high-paying jobs to Mesa. So the first part of it is hard work. The second part is we have to have a quality product to land those high-paying jobs. In other words, we have to have the infrastructure in place. We have to issue the bonds and build the streets and build the electric utilities and the gas utilities so that these folks have a place to bring high-paying jobs. And again, this would be my focus and my top priority as Mesa, is doing those two things. Mayor, rather.
I sat on the Citizens Design Review Board, and as we reviewed projects, a lot of the suggestions or opinions that were offered to the developers were turned into mandates and kind of held over people's head to get permits. There was projects that I saw that haven't even broke ground yet. There was projects that got the fast track. They were pushed right through. And those tended to be projects that were pushed by the city. I think we need to get rid of regulation. I think Mr. Hansen said that does not involve safety issues. We need to cut through the red tape, allow people to do what they do. Business owners run businesses. We shouldn't be holding them back by telling them what they can and can't do. We need to have a set of regulations, and if it doesn't pertain to safety, we need to let them do their job because they're the business owners.
First of all, the citizens need to decide if we want to be Mayberry or Manhattan or somewhere in between. I might want to bring every big business into Mesa, but if you guys don't want that, then I better not be doing that. So my focus will be on the citizens and what they really want their Mesa to be. I think that's what a council can do, is listen to you as a citizen. We live here for a reason. Is it the bedroom? Is it, hey, I want more nightlife? I live in Mesa because I like the atmosphere in Mesa. If the citizens want it to be Manhattan, then tell the council and we'll go to work. If the citizens want it to be somewhere in between, tell the council we'll go to work. If we're going to drive business to Mesa, and cities really don't drive business to Mesa, they can put the infrastructure in, but nobody drove my business to Mesa. I came on my own. But the main thing is that airport out there at Gateway. If we're going to drive businesses, we have got to invest more money and get more airlines at Gateway.
So just quick follow-up on this point. Some of you have mentioned efficient infrastructure. We've heard about needing to have better streamlined regulations. There's also a skilled workforce that Mesa needs to attract employers. Of those three, which is the one that Mesa needs to work on most? So skilled workforce, efficient infrastructure, or streamlined regulations? And we'll just start with you again, David, since we're going down the road.
Certainly the skilled workforce is essential, but I think what's going to drive that is attracting businesses into community. They are wanting a skilled workforce. Fortunately, I work for Mesa Public Schools, so I know that our students here at Mesa Schools get a really good education. But we also have a number of universities that have set up shop in the downtown area, as well as ASU and MCC. So with businesses working with these universities, I think that the potential for a skilled workforce will obviously happen. I sit on the Mesa Chamber of Commerce and Business Development, and
These are the quick follow-ups.
Oh, the 30 seconds.
These are the quick
these are 30
follow-ups.
seconds?
Yeah. So your answer was skilled workforce.
a skilled workforce.
Okay, so I'll repeat the question again. Of skilled workforce, efficient infrastructure, or a streamlined regulatory environment, which is the one that Mesa needs to work on most?
I think that first you can't have any one of them too far ahead of the other. I think they all go hand in hand, but I do believe that streamlining that process and reducing the regulatory challenges that businesses face in opening in Mesa is the best first step that we need to make.
Okay.
I'm going to go with infrastructure. You don't need to look too far. Well, actually, you do. You need to look to the far west valley, look at Buckeye, and the lost economic development that they've had over the last few years because they don't have the infrastructure in place. Businesses won't come in if you don't have the gas, the water, the sewer, the electric. They just won't come in. If it's not there, they're not going to fork out billions of dollars to get it there.
I had the opportunity to meet with the folks from Apple about a month ago and asked them to critique how Mesa did in their coming to Mesa. They couldn't have been more complimentary in the way that we handled the regulatory issues. So clearly the infrastructure issue is the City of Mesa's responsibility. So I think it's critical that we do our part to have the locations that we can then bring the Apples in, and we will continue to work hard and efficiently to make sure that they're pleased once they come here.
I think the regulation needs to be streamlined. Apple said that they had a good experience. Not everybody has that same experience. It needs to be the same whether you're Apple or whether you're the mom and pop shop setting up downtown. This is something that we have to foster a level playing field for all businesses, no matter the size. You shouldn't be able to get special treatment just because you have a thicker wallet.
Infrastructure. That's what the city can actually provide. And unless you're going to go to corporate welfare, we can bring people in that way. I don't know if that's a good thing or not. We can debate that later. But infrastructure is the most important, in my opinion, and education right after that. But infrastructure would be, if someone wants to relocate, they have to have a place that's going to meet their needs in a timely manner. And if we don't have that, they're going to move on to another city.
Thanks, guys. Okay, let's go over to East Valley editor Carrie Waters. She's got a question for us.
I'm just going to follow up. You had started to talk about, Mr. Luna, Falcon Field as a growth area for the city. So I wonder, what are you hoping to see come out of the Falcon Field Strategic Visioning Commission? And is there a way to move forward in that area that addresses the concerns some have over noise?
You know, I have had the opportunity, I don't look at it as a challenge, I look at it as an opportunity to attend many of the meetings held by the Falcon Field staff. Corrine Nystrom is doing an amazing job, as well as the airport people. It's all about balance. We have to balance what's happening at the airport with the neighborhood, as well as some of the business community that's there. There are a number of pilots that are very concerned about what's happening at the airport. They don't want to lose it. They want to make sure that we preserve the airport, and they want to make sure that it continue being a regional and a general aviation airport. But it's all about balance. It's about working with the company. It's about working with the flight schools. It's about working with the neighbors, and it's about working with the pilots to come up with a careful balance.
So airports are a great economic engine for the city. And so, as Mr. Luna said, I think it's very important that we balance the concerns of the neighborhood as well as those businesses and pilots that reside there. They're both very important to the city, and striking that balance, while challenging, will be important for us to work through, as well as to recognize the challenges that are happening at Falcon Field and make sure that we use appropriate zoning and decision-making as it relates to Gateway to prevent those challenges from rearing their heads later on in the future.
You know, I agree 100%. You know, with the issues at a Falcon Field, you know, clearly there's never a winner and a loser. There's going to be a compromise that's going to have to be reached on both sides. And like my opponent said, you know, whatever happens at Falcon can easily translate down into Gateway. A lot of the other airports in Chandler, Casa Grande, a lot of the other areas are watching to see what happens, because whatever happens at Falcon is going to have a trickle-down effect on the other airports in the other communities. And it can be devastating to the economies of not only Mesa, but to all the communities around us.
It's not a well-kept secret that Gateway area is one of the best places. Sorry, one of the best.
False alarm!
Boy, I'm getting old, I guess.
The bell tolls for thee, but not really.
All right.
Start over.
Thank
We're
you.
good.
Starting over again. Again, not a well-kept secret that Gateway is one of the best places in the country to start a business. And if you look at all the things that have come together out there, it's easy to see why. What I don't quite understand is if you compare that to the Falcon Field airport area, really nearly every single one of those huge assets that contributes to Gateway being such an attractive place is present at Falcon Field as well. But for some reason, there are large tracts of developable property at Falcon Field that have languished undeveloped for decades. I welcome the challenges that we've experienced in Falcon recently, because it's allowed us to develop this plan to go in and actually create an economic development plan for Falcon Field, which you would have thought that we had and would have been following closely for the last generation, but unfortunately we haven't. So it's highlighted a flaw in our economic development strategy for Falcon Field. So the thing I'm most looking forward to coming out of this is an economic development plan for Falcon Field so that it can reach its potential and really see some of the success we've seen out at Gateway.
I think it's important that we protect Falcon Field. As was said before, whatever happens in Falcon Field is going to have a trickle effect. It's also important that we protect Gateway so we don't have the same problems that we are having at Falcon Field. There has to be a compromise. I read that they were talking about shifting the runway slightly so that the noise would be less. But we also have to understand that there's zoning issues, and if you build your house at the end of a runway, there's going to be some noise. We can't just build a house at the end of a runway and say, hey, be quiet, this is where I live. Citizens, most of the problems that we have are solved by the citizens or sometimes made by the citizens. So we need to take the proper steps to protect Falcon Field, but also to protect Gateway, because we could have the same issues there in the future. So like Mr. Giles said, we have this committee. I hope we can come up with something where we can develop Falcon Field into what it can be.
Falcon Field is a very unique issue, and I feel for the neighbors out there that have the noise issue. But I'm pretty sure that when you bought the house, built the house, or whatever, that you were aware that there was an airport there. Now, what I'm concerned about is the fact that we have trainees flying over your house. Now, I really think that's the concern there. The noise, I'm sorry you knew that was there. As far as having the flight school, I'm a little concerned about having trainees flying over our homes. Is that the right place to do that? I have no idea what the city did when that company came in. I don't know if they made them any deals. I have no idea. But as a councilman, I would be concerned for those residents having people learning to fly over my house.
Thanks, guys. Let's get back into reader questions. And I have a ton of questions here about Scott Smith's legacy and what that means and how you would continue it, or even if you would continue it. I guess I want to probably just sort of synthesize those all for all of you into one question, and that would be, what letter grade would you give city leadership? And Mr. Hanson, we'll start with you.
I would give the city leadership an A. I think that we've made a lot of strides. I might say an A- at times, but we made a lot of hard decisions through a really tough economic downturn that helped prevent what could have been major disasters. And so I think the city, especially when compared to other cities of comparable sizes, did an amazing job of balancing those economic challenges as well as still providing a quality service and working through economic development challenges and still bringing some great companies to Mesa.
I'd go with ditto. I think this council has leaps and bounds done more for Mesa than any other council in recent years. They came into this economic downturn and just really buckled down. They had the foresight to see it coming and didn't just start spending frivolously. They really hunkered down and didn't really spend too much money. They had a balanced budget. They didn't have massive layoffs. We haven't had libraries closed, haven't had parks closed or pools closed. So that I think they've been very good watchdogs of the citizen dollar and have kept an eye on the budget. And we're emerging now as a better community and a stronger community. And like I said before, we have a very bright future, and I'm looking forward to being part of that and moving us forward.
I guess I'm going to agree with the A- just because I don't want to look like a suck up and say a full blown A. The performance of the city management and the political leaders in Mesa has been particularly impressive if you put it in the context of the economic downturn that they've had to deal with in the last 6 years. That has been really the most impressive thing to me, is that faced with huge budgetary challenges, they were able to keep the ship afloat, keep us pointed in the right direction. I've talked about the positive momentum that I've seen coming out of this council and this city manager. And what I mean by that is I appreciate the aggressive attitude that Mesa has adopted in economic development, in going out and looking for high quality, good jobs to bring to our community. Mesa could have easily decided to be satisfied with mediocrity, to just kind of ride out the storm and to do the minimum, but that has not been the attitude, and I give kudos to the political leadership for that attitude and for being aggressive and being out promoting Mesa, making the best of a bad situation.
I love Mesa. This is where I want to live, and this is where I want to raise my kids. I'll give them a pass on a pass-fail scale.
Oh, come on. You got to give a letter grade.
The legacy and the momentum that I'm concerned about is our rising debt. We have where most people sit at home and they rail about the federal government and their spending and their debt. And how can we really be that upset when we're, quote unquote, technically doing the same thing at home? How can we be upset at that when we are getting ourselves in debt and we are passing it on to our children? That is how I feel about the momentum. I think we need to turn the tide of that and not have our debt be doubled in the last 10 years.
Can you turn that into a letter grade? You can do it. I have faith in you. You can do it. All right.
Well, if you like the amounts of money that we're investing in baseball and light rail and things like that, and I'm not saying they're good or bad. The thing I like about it is that the voters voted for these. That I really like. Again, I go back to, I think we could have done a better job letting the voters know what that really meant long term. I think we need to do a better job on that. Everybody I've met in the city departments, council, they're just top-notch people. They're great people. They have good hearts about them, and I think they try to do the best they can for the citizens. However, as far as a grade, I think I'd give them a good solid B+. And I just think that we need to take a look at what we're spending the money on and be more open about what that means long term.
I give them an A++. They did well, this happened before I was appointed, but I think they did a tremendous job considering the $60 million budget deficit and restructuring the city. And because we have a fantastic leadership team and we have a tremendous council that isn't afraid and wasn't afraid to take up the challenge, I think they did an amazing job. And despite that, they were able to pass the bonds to build the Cubs Stadium, which is amazing. And it's the Mesa voters that decided to go ahead and do that. So that really speaks to what a great city we have, what a great city council and mayor we had, and also what a great city management team that we do have.
Okay, quick 30-second follow-up. What would you do differently? Anything?
The only thing I would do, I guess, different is, I think, for me, at least in District 6, I sense a lot of concern that people don't feel like they have a voice, that they want to be heard and they want their opinions to be known. And so just that personal engagement with those in the district so that as we make these decisions and push things along, I know, Scott, sorry, man. So that would be my only.
Man, that bell comes quick, doesn't it?
I've knocked a lot of doors in District 6, probably a little over 4,000 doors. I've talked to the community. I've talked to the citizens. I've been out talking to businesses. And, for the most part, citizens are happy. They like where the city's going. So for me, I don't think I would really change anything.
Hindsight's 20/20, so I don't mean to be critical, but if I would love to have seen the amount of energy and resources that we spent at Gateway also focused at, as I indicated earlier, the Falcon Field area and perhaps the Fiesta Mall area. Those are two great areas with huge economic potential. I think they need a little more TLC from the city. Also, I like the education initiative, but I think I would like to see more of our efforts placed with MCC, ASU Polytech, some of the schools that are traditionally better choices for some of our students.
Like was said, I think we need to have more citizen engagement, involvement. I think the citizens don't understand sometimes what the bonds entail. I think we need to prioritize our spending. We need to fund the necessary things first, not last.
Again, just being more upfront with what we're doing and what it means long term for the citizens. That would be the only thing I would do different.
What was the question?
Question is, would you do anything differently?
Do anything differently?
From the city leadership?
From my perspective, from my perspective, I think the city did an amazing job, despite the economic. They had no control of the economy, and the fact that they were able to restructure the city management in terms of how we provide services to our community speaks a lot. So I think they did a tremendous job. So I wouldn't have changed anything.
Okay. Next question. Is our latest general plan of limited automobile use and high density around the light rail intended to attract the professional millennials or encourage family-friendly past traditions that we've had in Mesa? Mr. Thompson.
Yeah, I think the There's sort of a movement, there has been for many, many years, where people are wanting to have more of that urban living. You saw it in Phoenix around Bank One Ballpark, Chase Field, I'm sorry, old habits. You see it around Chase Field, you see it along the light rail path there. Is Mesa ever going to get there? I don't know. I don't know if it's going to be in the next 10 years, 20 years. But I would hope that that the light rail and some of the things that are going on, the Arts Center and so forth, would help rejuvenate and revitalize the downtown area and potentially lead to some of that density that some of the younger folks are looking for.
If you read the new general plan, I guess I kind of object to the foundation of the question. It's not an either-or situation. We're not placing some emphasis on light rail and developing that asset because we want to please either the millennials or the seniors or certain groups of people. We want to have a viable transit opportunity for all of the above. I have to admit that I was somewhat pessimistic 10 or 15 years ago when we first started down the light rail route. I've ridden it before, and I've never found it to be a particularly wonderful way to get across town. But I now have to admit that I was wrong. The two groups of people that the question refers to, the millennials and the seniors, love the light rail. The Arizona Republic, kudos to you, did a great front page story 2 weeks ago that talks about how readership or ridership on the light rail has exceeded anyone's expectations. So I support the general plan's emphasis on supporting transit. I was wrong. That's what the public wants, and they're using it.
I think it's a mistake in Arizona to go away from the automobile because right now, most people won't leave their house. From June to August, you won't leave your house. I don't like riding a bike during the summer. I don't like walking during the summer because it's too hot to take my kids out. As for the light rail, as a father, the light rail is not practical for me. To pack 6 kids onto the light rail, go an hour and a half to get to a baseball game or something that I could have got there in 20 minutes and had my kids somewhat restrained in the vehicle. I don't think the general plan is a good representation of what the values that Mesa wants and the values that we've grown up on. We are an automobile-based community. I don't think we need to try for high-density housing. I don't know anybody that wants to live in a high-density housing. I'm sure there's people, but most people are looking for a nice house, and that's what they want. And those are the people that I guess I've ran into.
I think the thought of biking to work and having that walking and feel, it works great, and it would work great for downtown Mesa if we had places to work downtown Mesa, places to shop downtown Mesa, and those type of things. So I'm not opposed to any of that, and I think it's a great idea, but the infrastructure is not there. You can, unless you work for the city, I guess you can live downtown because that's where the city offices are. But for the most part, there's not a lot of businesses downtown still. So I like having areas. We've been to a lot of cities throughout the country that are great to walk through and ride bikes through, but there's something to do when you do that. And so it takes both.
I'm actually quite supportive of the light rail and the mixed-use housing. I think one of the things that once the light rail comes in, we will be able to bring people to come into our Mesa Arts Center. So it's a major attraction, certainly to the valley. So certainly I support that. I also support mixed-use housing. I think it's a great idea to have commercial downstairs and have people living upstairs. It's a whole new way of living, and certainly there's many communities throughout the United States that is something that people are accustomed to. So certainly I would be very supportive.
I do think culturally things are changing. You look at things like shopping malls. In today's world, a new shopping mall hasn't been built in the United States since 2006. These closed, confined spaces for people, even from a business perspective, are not being successful like they once were. Where you look at Riverview, Tempe Marketplace, Santan Village, these open-air spaces where people walk around, we're not all confined together, and we have a little bit of flexibility to move around. But I believe that the business community should be what's driving that, and as a city, we should be flexible enough to support those types of projects.
Well, let's go back over to Parker for another social media question.
All right, we've got a couple questions on this topic. So the reader says, it may have been legal, but do you think it was proper for council members to vote on a pay raise for which they would benefit, as happened recently in Mesa? And the second part is, would you work to amend the city charter to make sure that does not happen again?
Well, I remember talking to some of the council members when this was in front of them and asking how they were going to vote, and certainly helping them understand that their vote would be scrutinized. And so that vote was made very much with the understanding that they'd be accountable for that vote. So I don't feel like anything inappropriate occurred there. If the citizens of Mesa are offended by that vote, then they'll make that known in the way they vote in the upcoming election. So as the question suggests, there was nothing legally inappropriate about the vote, and the appropriateness of it from whether or not it was a good idea will be answered by the voters when they cast their ballots.
I don't feel that there was anything illegal done. Maybe it wasn't the right way to do it. It should have been something that's been done maybe incrementally. Not just a doubling right off the bat. That doesn't look good to people. It doesn't sit right with, I don't think, the normal citizen. Being a citizen, it just seems like, what's going on? You know, we have Congress giving themselves pay raises and, you know, the federal level. So I think it just gets that feel of inappropriate, where it should have been something done incrementally over the years instead of just a bam, double it.
In case the citizens don't realize this, in the charter, the city has to handle that pay raise. You can't give it to anybody else. I give kudos to the city for putting task force together and plans together to outside to look at everything and say, hey, here's what you're worth, in a kind of a roundabout way. So the city council did not just arbitrarily double their salary. Part of the problem is I think it was, what, 20 years, David, since they increased it, or 15 or something like that. So that's part of the problem is doing it once every 20 years. It's always going to look bad because you're going to have to double it to keep up with the even inflation. I'm not a big fan of the council members getting a raise, but I am a huge fan of the mayor getting a raise. The pay that the mayor got before the raise, that allows maybe 5 people in Mesa to run for mayor, because that's a full-time job. I mean, it just is. And if you can do that with a family on the pay that the mayor was doing, then good luck.
I have to agree with my colleague Robert over here. Our forefathers put that in the city charter, that the city council would give themselves a raise. The smart thing was that the council and the mayor set this task force to come up with some recommendation. Now, the initial recommendation was not supported by council. They went back and revisited and came back with a new recommendation, which was then supported by the city council. So certainly that's the way it's set up. It's certainly not illegal, but it's something that we did as members of the city council.
I think it was, as been said, that it's part of the city charter. It's been something that's been ignored in the past, and so in many ways, in spite of the public appearance, it took a lot of courage for them to, many of who are termed out and will have no benefit personally from it. And so I think from that standpoint, it took the courage for them to do that in spite of the appearance of it, to at least set us back where, if it would have been done incrementally. My understanding is the task force came back with a much higher recommendation, and the city council felt like it was too high, and they're the ones that recommended the lower numbers.
You know, it is in the city charter, and I don't necessarily know that I would support a change in the city charter. I think the way the mayor and council went about this, having the citizens committee take a look at it, I think it, to come back and propose an increase was the right way to do it. The wages have been stagnant for 20 years. for the third largest city in Arizona, you're not keeping up with some of the other communities around. Tempe, their council make a lot more than this council does, and the mayor. And we're a bigger city than Tempe with a lot more issues than Tempe. Was it the right thing to do? I think the way they handled it was the right way. I would have preferred really to see, some of the staff and maybe the fire and police and so forth get some raises before council, but, that's here and there.
Well, Carrie is eager, awaiting to ask another question.
What does the city spend too much money on? And then conversely, what does the city spend too little money on? And if you're elected, what would be your spending priorities?
Mr. Ray, we'll start with you.
I feel that the city, I've said it before, we need to prioritize that spending. We need to spend our money first on the essentials, on the necessary items, and then we can discuss what else we're going to spend money on. To have these necessary infrastructure items be always going to bond elections and not taking the proper initiative to at least partially set something aside for these issues, I think that's a big problem. So I think we just need to prioritize our money. We have some pet projects that we spend too much money on, such as the lights at Mesa Drive. I'm not sure where that came from. Haven't met anybody that likes them. We don't spend enough money probably on, funding the infrastructure, public safety, and, those are the jobs of the city. Infrastructure, public safety, and being accountable with the taxpayers' money.
I honestly don't know what the city spends too much money on. They're in a tight budget. They're trying to just provide the necessary items for the city. Everything else that is over and above, the citizens have voted for and accepted. So too little, I would say probably police, as I've met with the police. I am not endorsed by police, so please, full disclosure here. I met with the police, and they really had to cut back. I know in my area, in District 5, that district for a long time needed about 14 police officers at all times to handle the workload. And since the cutbacks, they've been at 8, and they've been at 8 for a long time. So I would like to be known as and they do a great job for what they have. And I'd like to be known for the city who has extra police and fire, and instead of the very bare minimum. So I'd like to spend more money on that.
Quite honestly, I would say that we don't have a lot of excess money to spend on a number of areas. I mean, if you go to every department and say, oh, we need more money, of course they're going to say that. Certainly, we can allocate monies to police and fire and to those other departments to provide the services to our community. But I really feel that our city council, our current council, did the right thing, passed the budget where there was no excesses. And so I'm very proud of them. I'm very proud of their efforts. And as a result, I don't feel that we've overspent.
Again, I think the city's done a great job of trying to manage the budget through a very challenging time. I think if there's an area that we can focus on to look to reduce some of our cost structures, it's on the IT side. There's a lot of redundancy in the city and a lot of places where we can dig in and look for innovative new ways to do things and use better technology to support that. In terms of too little, most definitely on the public safety side. Those men and women are out there doing a great job. I will say that I recently became aware through some school principals in the area that Gilbert schools did not receive funding for their public safety officers, and reached out to Chris Brady and shared that with him, and him and Chief Milstead really went above and beyond from the city standpoint to ensure that those police officers were going to be on campus and make sure those students were safe.
Yeah, I'm not like Robert. I'm not. I don't really know what the city has overspent on. I think they've done a really good job of managing the budget that they have. with the amount of dollars that they have. But I also think that our public safety is underfunded. I have been endorsed by police, and I've been out on rides, and I would encourage everybody to go out on a ride if you're able to. But I did go out on a ride in a superstition out of the superstition district. That district reaches really from all of District 5 and all of District 6. It's a huge district, and to have the response time that we expect them to have without having additional officers out there on the streets, or perhaps building another station somewhere further up north towards Los Sendas so that we can have a quicker response time. So I think one area that I would really like to see some funds at, with the SROs as well, is in the public safety area.
The city just completed budget hearings and went through a fairly detailed process of scrutinizing their spending and allocating funds, examining their priorities. And I think if there were areas in the city where we were obviously overspending and wasting, we would have had identified those and eliminated them by now. So I think the city does a good job of looking for opportunities to save money. However, this is a huge budget. It's $1.3 billion, so it'd be foolish not to think that there's not ample room for some savings in that budget. So I think it's important that we continue to put a lot of scrutiny on the budget and looking for opportunities to improve. We need to incentivize our employees to tell us that they are the people that are closest to the ground, and they can tell us ways that we can do things better, things that we're doing that's somewhat duplicative. So I would encourage employees to tell us that. Where I would like to see us spend more money, economic development. I think it's going to pay dividends and bring money back to us.
Okay, so we are a little bit over an hour, and I don't know that I have heard a whole lot of disagreement between any of you guys on a whole lot of anything. And so, not to throw it up or try to make you guys mean to each other or anything, but what differentiates you from your opponent? And so, I guess, Mr. Clough, we're up with you.
Awesome. First of all, I've been accused of running his campaign. I like him so much. So I'm not running David's campaign, but he is a good man. But what differentiates? I am not a politician. And I'm not saying David is. Please don't get me wrong. But I am not owned by any other politician. I am not owned by any special interest groups. I have not sought any money from anybody. If I'm elected, I will represent the citizen and the citizen only. When somebody stands at that podium, whether it's police, fire, zoning, I can say that I can look at them and make a decision based on an objective view, because they don't own me. They didn't pay for my campaign. They didn't endorse me. I feel our elected officials have forgotten that the citizens is who we work for. Thank you.
Thank you for the opportunity. I think that Robert and I are quite different. The good thing is that we get along very well with each other, and we've built a good relationship. We certainly have different skill sets. I come from an education background. I have a doctorate from Northern Arizona University. I worked in the Mesa Public Schools for many years. I've worked in nonprofit agencies for a number of years, and so I have that background to bring. So I believe that I have the skill set necessary to serve on the city council, and so I've really enjoyed that opportunity, and I want to continue doing that. Certainly, Mr. Clough brings an important message relative to being endorsed by individuals. That's, to me, part of the process. People in the community just want to support you. They believe in you. They want to support you as a candidate. They believe that the message you bring and what you can contribute is very important. And as a result, they want to contribute to your campaign and support you. So I certainly encourage them to do that. Doesn't mean that they own me. It only means that they want to support me.
Before we get to District 6, well, actually, I wanted to do a rebuttal on that. So, is there substantive policy issues that differentiate you two in District 5? We can start with you, Mr. Clough, and then 30 seconds.
Well, first the rebuttal. Or can I not rebuttal as
sure.
far as zoning?
Okay, rebuttal.
I don't know how you can be a politician and accept funds by special interest groups, zoning attorneys, other politicians, and say you're not owned by them. I'm sorry, I don't know how you do that. I will be able to say that. Now if you don't want that, vote for David. He's a great guy. I mean, seriously. And I'm not saying he's bad. Please don't get me wrong. It's just how I look at politics. I think citizens need to get more involved and less politicians and more citizens.
Okay. Substantive policy issues.
Policies.
Are there things that differentiate you two?
Well, I'll speak for myself. I'm not a big fan of the corporate welfare. I'm a business. I'm a CFO of a local Mesa-based business. Okay, so I'm a business person. But to me, to spend $70 million a mile for light rail to affect just the businesses along that rail just does not make sense to me.
Okay. Hey guys, no. Stop with the. Okay, so let's stop clapping. Thank you. Okay. Oh my God, we're losing decorum. All right, so Mr. Luna.
Okay.
And then if you want to do a rebuttal, since
Sure,
we gave
sure.
Mr. Clough one, and then also substantive policy
sure.
differences between you guys.
First of all, I think I'm intelligent enough to know that when somebody donates to me, they don't own me. They just want to support my candidacy. So, Mr. Clough may believe that he's representing the citizens. So am I. These are community members that have decided to support my effort to run the city council. In terms of, I'm an advocate of light rail. I think light rail is essential. I think it moves Mesa forward, and I'm going to support it.
Okay. Okay, District 6.
Controversy.
All right. I feel better. Seriously. Okay, so District 6, for you guys, what is the thing that differentiates you from your opponent?
I mean, since we're both bald.
What shiny do you use on the head?
They put powder on us before we started so we wouldn't be too shiny for all of you. So I would say there's a couple of differences. One, my involvement in the community didn't start with my deciding to run for the city council. I've been involved in District 6 for many, many years and have developed a lot of friendships with business owners, with the faith-based community across the board, with friends, neighbors, their families and their children. And so for me, that connection, these are my friends and my neighbors, and that's really why I'm running. And that plays out in the funding that I have received. The vast majority of that funding has come from people within District 6. And they have their families, they don't have a lot of money, and they've contributed because they believe. And they believe that I'll represent them and have their interests at heart. And the other major difference is my professional career. I manage multiple locations with hundreds of employees. And that was the bell.
And that was it.
Well, I think I have a well-rounded skill set that sets me apart from my opponent. I've managed employees. I've worked on multi-million-dollar budgets. I've actually developed those budgets. I've used my real-world applications to solve problems. I've worked with citizens to solve issues. I understand infrastructure. I work for Southwest Gas. I'm a mechanical engineer by degree, so I understand the infrastructure and the needs that infrastructure plays in development and economic development. I think I do very well bringing people together to reach consensus. I've helped build vision and helped our organization achieve that vision. I've had to make those real-world tough decisions that impact people's lives, and I think that has prepared me to take on this job, and I'm hoping that I have your support and you vote for me.
Okay, same follow-up. Substantive policy differences between you guys?
I would say that, to me, the biggest policy difference is my belief that we need to be looking at new and different ways and not doing things the same as we always have. My professional career has been about working through hard challenges, pushing through difficult things, making very hard decisions, and managing that and bringing those things together. And it drives everything I do to find those innovative new ideas and to be successful in that and to help other people find that success as well.
Okay.
I think if you look at both of us, outside of just being bald, really our platforms are very similar. We both want economic development. We both want the high-wage jobs to come in. We both want to protect the airport. So our platforms are very, very similar. I think one of the major differences, it comes down to skill set. I think I can hit the ground running from day one and utilize the skills and what I've learned over the years to help me just immediately get to task.
Okay. And mayors, what differentiates you?
Well, let me begin by saying that I like Danny a lot. We've got to know each other over the course of this campaign, and I admire him and his decision to run for mayor. But I do think that there are a lot of stark differences between the two of us, primarily having to do with level of experience and depth of experience. I have served on the Mesa City Council. I've served as the vice mayor. I left city government 14 years ago, not intending on coming back. But during those 14 years, I've served on a large amount of city boards and commissions and nonprofits and interfaith groups. And I think the experience that I have acquired outside of city government really is more important than the experience that I gained inside of city government. But I think it gives me a breadth of experience, and I'm prepared well to be the mayor. Substantively, I think Danny will be the first one to tell you he wants to take Mesa in a different direction. He wants to stop taking federal money. He wants to stop issuing bonds. Both of those would have very significant detrimental impacts on our community. To the contrary, I want to double down on economic development and promoting Mesa aggressively.
There are a lot of similarities between myself and Mr. Giles. I think in the Arizona Republic it listed a bunch of them, and then it said that's where it stops. Experience, we all have life experiences, and we all experience different things. I would never hold Mr. Giles' experience as an accident attorney against him. I'm also I'm not a political insider, and I don't have any experience. I'm a novice at raising taxes and fees. I'm a novice at increasing regulation. I'm a novice at these things, racking up $1.5 billion in debt. I don't know how to do that. I think we both love Mesa. I have no doubt that Mr. Giles loves Mesa. He wouldn't be here if he didn't love Mesa. So I think our biggest difference is I don't think we should be taking federal money because it has hooks. I think we need to reconsider the bonding issue. We need to fund the necessary things first.
All right. Okay, other audience question. What is your 5-year economic forecast for Mesa and why? I think, Mr. Luna, you're up this time.
I attended a thing with the East Valley Partnership, and economist from ASU came and spoke, and he says, we are recovering, but we haven't recovered. And so it's going to be a slow process. So in terms of economic recovery, it's going to take a while. It's not going to come as quickly, and we all know that. We all know that recovery is going to take a while. So in terms of my forecast, it's going to be slow, but it will happen. And I'm optimistic that it's going to happen.
I agree with Mr. Luna. I believe that it's going to be slow, that we've seen housing starts begin to slow again, and there's still a lot of challenges with the economy that as a city we need to be cautious of that and go slow and look at things closely before spending significant amounts of money.
I really think I agree with Dave. I think we haven't fully recovered. You're not seeing the consumer confidence out there. Eastmark hasn't really met their expectations themselves on build out. They're just not selling the homes. They get a lot of traffic through there, but people just aren't buying right now. So the consumer confidence isn't there yet, and I think eventually it will get there. Will we ever get back to where we were 8, 9, 10 years ago? I don't know. I hope we don't, honestly, because I don't want to get back into that bubble that got us into this mess in the first place. But I think we can be smart about how we develop. I think we can be smart about how we zone, and do what we can to make coming to Mesa and working in Mesa a lot easier for companies, and see what we can do and let people know that Mesa is open for business.
You know, I've read the same economic news that everyone has, and the experts are saying that we are still in the midst of a downturn and our recovery is struggling. But I have to tell you that this experience of running for mayor has been very eye-opening for me. Just as a candidate, I wish I could tell you the amount of times that people have approached me with great ideas, people that have approached me talking about businesses that they want to relocate to Mesa, large businesses with lots of employees. And so, in spite of what I'm reading, I have to tell you that my attitude towards Mesa's economic development is very optimistic. I am very excited to take on the task of being Mesa's cheerleader-in-chief and going out and stirring up as much interest in Mesa and in Mesa's economy as I possibly can. And given the reaction that I've experienced so far, I'm very optimistic that we're going to be successful in that.
I think the economic recovery is a slow process. The key to it is, though, is making Mesa more welcoming. And I think it's through streamlining the regulation process. We should only be regulating where safety is involved. We shouldn't be telling people how to paint their building, how to landscape their building, how to do these different things. We need to allow people to use their innovation and their hard work to either succeed or fail. That's what America was made on. That's what Mesa was made on. And it's important that we get back to our core principles. When you've gone away from, when you start having problems, it's important to go back to your core principles, because core principles are what they're what have made us great and what we are today.
My forecast is definitely cloudy with a chance of rain. The economy is going to continue to grow slow. I run a small business. We have about 60 employees in Mesa. We were fortunate enough, and as far as the city goes, you know, all the economy has to do, obviously, with the revenues that we bring in. But as far as businesses go in Mesa, I'm a CFO of a small business. We do software. We've been in business for 25 years. We've been profitable for 25 years. We've never laid anybody off. We've never had to cut benefits. So businesses, and that just doesn't happen. Okay, you have to plan for that. So as far as the economy goes, I feel the city has to do kind of the same thing, is plan. We're still in a recession. We still have to kind of tighten the belt and watch what we do and don't get ahead of ourselves and try to spend too much, grow too fast.
Okay. We're getting pretty close on time, so I want to do one last question and just maybe make it a 30-seconder. And I hate to do this because it's an important subject, but there's been a lot of questions about West Mesa and what do we do about West Mesa? We talked a lot about East Mesa, but not a lot about West Mesa. How do you revitalize West Mesa? And I think, Mr. Hanson, we're with you.
I think that, again, that focusing on making it easy for businesses to be there, giving them reasons to want to be there, that a lot of that infrastructure is already in place that we've been talking about, that removing some of the hurdles that stand in the way of those businesses as we encourage it, but also having, going back to Mr. Giles' point of having an economic plan for that area, that it's not just part way, that we have a real plan and a real focus as a city.
Well, I think the direction that the city's moving right now with doing the reuse of some of the areas like Fiesta Mall and so forth to bring those office buildings and medical centers in is a start. I think really you have to have community involvement. You have to have the community take pride in their community to help clean it up. It's not something that the city can just go out and wave a magic wand and throw lots of money at and say, be a better community. I think it takes a lot of community involvement and a lot of effort.
I've spent a lot of time in West Mesa. It's my neighborhood. And making things better in West Mesa and in the older parts of town is the thing that I would take the most pride in if I'm successful in doing that as a mayor. I think it's critical that we fight the blight that is so obvious there. We cannot accept in Mesa having slums. We need to hold people to a higher standard. We need to do everything we can to have habitable housing. So we don't need more housing in West Mesa. We have a wealth of affordable housing there. We need more jobs. That's the answer.
I think it comes down to a lot of the same thing we've been talking about, regulation. With regulation on businesses, if regulation is streamlined and the red tape is cut, businesses will come because they want to come. I've knocked on doors and I've had business owners tell me, I went to Chandler because Mesa was too hard. But the same goes for the citizens. If we are over-regulating them, nobody is going to fix up their house. If we make it easier for them to do the permitting process or to get the necessary things to improve their house, they will.
Fix Fiesta Mall area, which has been a problem for years, and you want us to tell you in 30 seconds what we're going to do.
I know it's hard. I'm sorry.
First of all, we say we want to attract businesses, but if a business doesn't want to go there, I don't care what you do unless you give it to them for free, they're not going to go there. So let's be real. As far as the blight goes, I don't know about you, but I was very poor at one time, and I appreciated having a neighborhood in Mesa where I didn't have to leave out of town that I could afford. And you know what? Some people can only afford that, and that's okay.
Certainly, we want to encourage some economic development opportunities, and some good things are going to be happening in the Fiesta District that I'm not privy to talk about yet. So that's going to be really exciting. And certainly we want to continue to promote those. We have an excellent economic development coordinator, Mr. Jabziniak, and he's trying to bring in some more business into the community. So we really need to advocate those kind of things.
Oh, yeah. So, sorry. I got my count off. I was thinking we need to start with you, Mr. Thompson, and so now we're going to go into our 1-minute closing remarks.
Again, thank you all for coming out tonight, and Joanne, thank you for moderating this. It's been a pleasure to be here and to actually get to talk to the voters. I think I bring a wealth of knowledge and a skill set that my opponent doesn't have to the table. I think that my ability to work through budgets, to manage people, to make those tough decisions has helped make me the person I am. I spent 8 years in the Air Force, so I've got the leadership abilities through that. For me, it's about service to my community. I want Mesa to be a better city, but not just a better city, the best city. So I'm asking for your vote. Vote Thompson for Mesa. Thank you.
We've talked about a lot of issues tonight that could cause some pessimism, as to the future of Mesa. Clearly, Mesa faces some challenges. There's things that city government needs to be engaged in actively to address so that they can be improved in our community. But in spite of that, I have to tell you that I sincerely believe that Mesa's best days are ahead of us. That if we don't shy away from the challenges that are facing us, and if we are proactive and aggressive in looking for more high-paying, better jobs, if we don't get scared by those who would bully us into thinking that the way to respond to Mesa's challenges is to do nothing and to sit back and watch other communities pass us by, I think we're going to be in good shape. My hope is that you will join me in that effort and that together we can take Mesa to the next level. Thank you.
I am a husband and a father and a citizen of Mesa first and a taxpayer. I believe that the problems we have in Mesa are the citizens' problems. Sometimes we elect people and send them away to represent us, and we go about living our lives. We don't hold our representatives accountable. It's time that we, as citizens, engage again and hold our representatives accountable and let them know how we feel. It's important that citizens are the ones that are going to solve the problems. Government never solves problems. They only amplify problems. It's through the citizens holding their representatives accountable that we can stop these problems and move forward and have a great Mesa. Mesa's already great, but it can be better. I just am a citizen here wanting to represent the people, wanting to represent myself and my family and the future of them. I encourage everyone to vote, whether you vote for me, vote for somebody. Get out there and be informed and vote.
First of all, thank you, Arizona Republic, for doing this, for letting us have a voice. I think that's great. I also want to put a plug in for Arizona Republic. I'm not endorsed by Arizona Republic either. I want to put a plug in for their voter guide. I think that's a great thing and a great tool for voters. So please, if you have not seen that, get online and do that. But I applaud the current city council. I might have been a little mean tonight with them, and I apologize, but I applaud them. They have gone and done a lot of things, and they're heading in the right direction. There are still, like Mr. Giles said, there's still a lot of work to go. I mean, there just really is. We can't rest on this. We got to keep moving forward. As a successful business person who understands business, even though I'm a CFO, I don't just sit back and count beans all day. I'm over a lot of departments in our small business, but I think I'm well-rounded enough to be able to meet the needs and represent, again, who I'm focused on, and that's the citizens. Thank you.
Quite honestly, I'm very optimistic. I'm an optimistic person. I really believe in the city of Mesa. And I'm really excited that the potential it has, the fact that Apple Computer has set up shop over in District 6, and the opportunities they bring. And certainly I would encourage other businesses to come in. And I really believe that more businesses are going to be coming into the city. So I'm certainly a strong advocate for economic development. The other thing is I'm an incumbent. I've been in the office for a year, and so I don't have to learn a lot. I've already learned it. Haven't learned everything, but I've learned a lot in terms of how the city works and how it operates. So when I go into, if I'm elected, and I would ask that you would consider me, that I will be able to go running and certainly understand and continue to advocate for great things for our community and move the city forward. So I would encourage you, I would ask the citizens in District 5 to vote for me as your Mesa City Council person. Thank you.
I'm very optimistic about Mesa, and especially District 6. There are a lot of great things on the horizon, and as we look for new and innovative ways to do business as a city, as well as to make it easier for businesses to be here, that optimism only increases, that we can make a difference as individuals and as a city and as a group if we work together, that we listen. One of my greatest skills is listening to the people, hearing all sides of issues, and basing decisions on that. My opponent and I are different. My experience comes from the business world. I'm not a lobbyist. I'm not focused on a special interest. I represent the people of District 6, and I hope you'll vote for me. Thank you.
Great. Well, that's our candidate forum. Really want to thank you guys for sticking with us and watching the whole thing. This forum will be rebroadcast on Mesa Channel 11. And if you want to watch it online, you can do so at any time at mesa11.com. Also, thank you for giving the shout out to our candidate guide. If you want to learn more about the candidates, it is azvotes.azcentral.com. And make sure, no matter what you do, vote on August 26th. Thanks.